Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you all for being here. Did you all enjoy the weather today? Did you all get to go outside? It was perfect weather since yesterday. So I'll always remember Kansas City as this wonderful place with perfect weather. You all are laughing because you all know something else. Is it really very cold, like New York cold? Oh, yes. So I'm sure when I go back, that could be the same, because the same thing is happening. You know, all the leaves are falling, and all the colors are changing, and we have beautiful lakes and parks nearby. So it's such a beautiful sight, and I was very thankful to Lama Matthew and Gabby. They took me to this beautiful site. It was the Liberty Place, is it? Liberty Memorial. What a wonderful, wonderful monument. And it was so beautiful to see the city around. And it was nice, Lama Matt pointed out the Rime Center. So has everyone been there? And it's so beautiful because you could, I almost wanted to take my socks off and walk on the grass, but I didn't have much time. And that it was such a lovely evening. Thank you all for coming in. I suggested to Lama Matt that we should have our, on a lovely day like this, we should have a meditation outside. It'll be a great experience, won't it? Yes, wonderful. So, are there any newcomers today, or all the ones who came in the morning session, right? Wonderful, that's fantastic. So, I wanted to give you all a little insight, and, who was Buddha? And all of you all know, all of you all have seen his picture, and all of you all have seen the statue of Buddha. But Buddha is not a name, it's a title, it's a term. The term Buddha really means enlightened one. In the Indian language, even now, Buddha means wisdom, knowledge, and Buddha is meaning enlightened one. Buddha is one who attained Bodhi, again, wisdom. So after Buddha attained enlightenment, he taught for 45 years, and all his teachings all over parts of India is still there in the sense of monuments where he created miracles. And so we were very lucky. Before we went to into the retreat, Lama Rinpoche, our Rinpoche took us on a trip to India and Nepal. And for most parts, for few of the Westerners, who were very young, who were also, one was, I think, in her early 20s, and she was going into the retreat, and almost like if you haven't grown up in that culture, Buddha is also like a far remote thing, like Jesus Christ, in the sense, some would even question his existence. Is he made up or something like that? But for me, I grew up in India, and so Buddha is entwined in our culture, in the sense, like if we did something wrong when we were young, they would say, karma is going to get you, or don't you want to be as peaceful as Buddha? So, many things, context like that. So Buddha was like very, very real to us. And I think if you're growing up in the West, there's not really culturally so much information. And so when we went on that pilgrimage, I hadn't traveled to all the northern parts of India myself, because I grew up in South. And we went to where his first sermon took place. We went to his birthplace, which was in Lumbini. And Lumbini, in ancient India, it was a border, of India, and now it is in Nepal, Lumbini. So we went there, where he passed away, and where he created some miracles. So it was such a real thing to follow the footstep. Even when you go now, you feel that energy, you feel that oh my God, there was something marvelous that must have happened. And when you go there, it's like a world by its own. You have all these tourists, and we went to Bodh Gaya where he became enlightened, and tourists from all over the world, from Sri Lanka, from Singapore, from Bangladesh, from every part of the world, millions of tourists, they come there to offer prayers, and they often put like gold leaves, like they're thin gold papers they put on the walls, offering lotus flowers. And when there are special prayers, like during the first month of January or February, there's this huge Monlam going, which is Kagyu Monlam, which means literally a prayer festival, which goes on for 5 days. And then you'll see hundreds of monks from all over ascending there with all the nuns and all the people visiting from all over the world. And it's really a sight to behold. And that's Bodh Gaya. So when we went to Bodh Gaya, it was like, oh, this is where Buddha got enlightened. We sat under the tree, the very same tree, in the sense, sadly, the same tree that Buddha got enlightened got burnt. So they got a sapple of it from, I think, Ceylon, and there's this beautiful tree. We sat under that, and our teacher gave us a lot of teachings. So coming back to Buddha, one of the amazing things, we never get a life's manual. We have a manual how to drive the car, how to build a cupboard, how to build anything, but there's no life manual. But Buddha was able to give kind of an insight, like a roadmap, what life really is. And when I really studied that and learned some of the simple, the Four Noble Truths he taught, they are so, even now, it's so relevant, and it is such a simple thing. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about the Four Noble Truths is because I recently read that there are like 60% of the millennials who have left their jobs because of mental health issues, and then about 70 Genners, you call them Genners, right? Gen Z, that they've also, have quit their jobs because of dissatisfaction and for mental health issues. And this is an alarming number, and I read this very, very recently. So I thought it's really relevant to touch base on what Buddha taught, the Four Noble Truths. And it makes so much sense. If you keep that at the back of your mind, this is what it is. Like, we all know, when it's going to rain, carry an umbrella. When it's going to snow, wear warm clothes. How about keeping this as and something back of our mind to saying, oh, well, this has happened and this is what is meant. So I'll go over those Four Noble Truths very briefly. And so the first noble truth Buddha taught was the truth of suffering. Now the word suffering in Pali is called Dukkha. So Dukkha can't be translated to suffering. Suffering is, when you all see suffering is really intense suffering. So what Dukkha means, there's no literal translation in English, but Dukkha means it's translated more like pain, unsatisfactoriness, stress of mundane life. And I think the word which is closest is unsatisfactory. So, most of us, look at all our dreams since our childhood. Has everyone met their dreams? Now, all of you all wanted to be football players. Most of them, men wanted to be fire engineers, or some of them wanted to be pilots. And whatever the women, we all wanted to be princesses. There's so many crowns made. Every little child wants to be a princess, or all our aspiration. And it's really, as we've grown older, those have been replaced by some other idea, some other thoughts. And some of the things that we wanted to become hasn't come into fruition, and there's a lot of disappointments. And even when you wake up in the morning, just the thought of going to work, the it's unsatisfactoriness that's prevailing throughout a day. So anyone can relate to that, right? So that's what he talks about. Life is like dukkha, life is suffering. So when you have this, this is one of the noble truths, when you have this in your mind, when things go wrong for you in a day-to-day basis, you can say, that was Buddha's teachings. It's all right. That is our nature of our human realm. Like example, if you were an animal, what would that nature be? For you to constantly go and look for food. Look at all the birds. They have to constantly see, during winter where they're going to survive. So we are very lucky that way. Although, every day when we have these mundane problems, stress, when you can't get your parking space, when somebody cuts you off, when you go to your job and your colleagues act up, you can just say, this is what he meant. There's unsatisfactoriness throughout the day, and it's all right. It's all right. And so again and again, bring to your mind the thought that to make light of situations, like every word. Sometimes when we listen to something somebody said, we make it into such a big issue. How many of us are not talking to somebody because somebody said something bad to us 20 years ago, right? Or, somebody, we've lost friendships for that. But it's nice to be on a lighter level, not to keep life so seriously. Because imagine what the first noble truth is. Life is dukkha, and it also relates to the reality of life. When we are young, we have so much energy, and then we are growing older. And it's really not fun as we get older. The whole body part breaks off. It's like our body is like, if it was an engineer, he would have really built it in a different way. It's so expensive, from our hair to the teeth to our eyeglasses to every part of the body. No wonder the medical companies are doing so well. Somebody there is laughing, as although look very, very young. So, we can all relate to that. And so, and then we are giving so much prominence to this body, maintaining this body. Our 21 teeth is probably annually. If you look from birth to death, it probably costs $40,000, with a root canal, the cleaning, and all these things. And then we are maintaining this body to perfection and perfection and perfection. And then death. We never know when we are going to die. So this is what he means by dukkha. Constantly our body deteriorating. As we are living, as we want to keep our body in top shape, we are going towards that death. So there are many levels of this dukkha, everyday suffering, and then the reality of birth, old age, and sickness. So, and then the Buddha's insight was that our lives are a struggle. We spend all our lives in pursuit of happiness, looking for whatever we believe will satisfy us, be it wealth, success, love, high-paying job, or high position. And too often we don't find it, and that is one of our suffering as well. And life is a challenge for everyone. Our physical bodies, our relationships, our life circumstances, everything is so fragile. So for instance, if to really hit home the truth of dukkha, on a daily basis, I'm going to name a few, and let me know how many of you all feel this, okay? Sorry, excuse me. So raise your hands up if any of you all feel any of these experiences: irritation, impatience, annoyance, frustration, disappointment, dissatisfaction, aggression, tension, stress, anxiety, pain, desperation, sorrow, sadness, suffering, misery, agony, anguish. That's a whole load. But do know the Buddhist teachings are not something negative. It's just to give you the insight. Yes, with all these experiences, we all feel it. So that's the first noble truth. Now, the important note that the notion of suffering is not intended to convey a negative word, a negative feeling. It's a very pragmatic perspective. This is what is happening. Let's deal with it. And then this is what the Buddha's life manual is. This is what is going to happen. And then the second truth. This is where it gets positive. And he says the second noble truth is he gives you the cause of suffering. So a lot of, so this is something where it starts to get a little positive. So the cause of suffering is from our greed, desire, attachment. We experience life in a narrow and self-centered way, craving things we think will make us happy. But we only find satisfaction briefly, and then anxiety and craving happens again. It's not telling us to give up everything, we love and we find happiness, not to give up all those things. But our attachment and our desire, that is the problem. And we don't realize the law of impermanence. Every phenomena is impermanent, and only permanent thing is change. So this is a very much more interesting concept, which is, this is a cause of suffering. So when we have anger, when we have anxiety, when we have stress, you know what you notice? That your mind constantly engaged in those thoughts. Oh my God, I'm depressed. Oh, I'm anxious. How are you? I'm stressed. We seem to focus more on that. Because in our mind stream, it's these negative emotions that are more prominent than the happiness. Like example, the new car that you bought last week is not happy anymore. Because you've already found another model which you want. So that's where the attachment, he's talking about our attachment. Our children, which we love and we wanted to have as many as possible, now they have become a source of irritation. The millennials apparently are living at home. And we love our children very much, but, that's a lot for the children to go back home and live, So, and their pressure, their anxiety is very sad. So here, what the second noble truth, the cause of suffering, is our attachment to all these negative things. Because we feel really, how many of you all could have had a fight or something negative, and you'll call a friend to explain what happened? It's not only that you want to suffer, but you want to let your friend know also what a bad day you had. So that's attachment, that's craving, going back and back again. Okay. Now it gets even more positive. The third noble truth. Here Buddha gives us hope. There is an end to the suffering. And that is such an amazing thing. He's giving us a manual, and he's saying, here's the manual. And then and what Buddha is saying, these are all temporary obscurations. Like I said, once you practice meditation all the time, the yogis, the realized masters, as soon as they also have thoughts, they also have stress, they also have negative thoughts coming. But as soon as the negative thoughts arise, from which the negative emotion will rise, they can dissolve that thought as it appears. And that is why they are so joyous. That thought, because our mind is limitless and it is empty in nature, this thought doesn't have that strength to be there and haunt you. The yogis know through meditation how to, as that thought arises, it dissolves all the thoughts, all the negative thoughts. And that's why they're so joyous and so blissful. And, everything can be going wrong around them, but they're all like happy and jolly. And you'll see this with a lot of Tibetan masters, So that's another very profound insight he gives. And then he not only says that there is a cure, but he's saying, here's the path. Here's the manual. And that is the fourth noble truth, the path that frees us from suffering. And then he says, what is the path? The eightfold path. He gives us the path, how to practice that. And I will quickly go through the eightfold path, which is kind of divided into 3 sessions. So the eightfold path can be, grouped into 3 sections. The first is wisdom, which is right understanding, right aspiration, and morality. So what is right understanding in Buddha's view? So the right understanding is, this is really needs a lot of explanation, but I'm briefly touching this topic. The right understanding is we take this whole world and ourselves to be such a strong reality. But in Buddha's teachings, with a lot of meditation and practice, you'll understand everything is an illusion. So that's the right understanding, because we think me, myself, this is mine, this is yours. Better I run fast to get the right things for myself. So this is something we all do as human beings. But Buddha is saying it's an illusion. All of us are illusions. This phenomenal world is an illusion. Okay? Then the second session, so the first is wisdom. Under that it's right understanding, right aspiration. So the aspirations are like, aspiring to be your very best, right? The aspiration is trying to reach your highest potential, which is the state of enlightenment. So, bringing back your thoughts into that direction. So the second is morality, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood. And this is very important, this part of morality. How many of us, would never dare to want to have a job as probably like something that gives us pain, maybe like a butcher or something like that, And no offense to anyone who's that, we all have a job to do. But on a daily basis, it could be a little bit, traumatizing if we are trying to be vegans or vegetarians in that context. And right speech, how many of us want to be with people who have pleasant speech? Do we want to be with anyone who's a little abusive? No, none of us, right? So, but then that also, when we ourselves develop right speech, in the sense sweet speech, good speech, we also feel good about ourselves. And then the right conduct, right livelihood. We want to have good jobs, we are moral people. We want to remain with high conduct of morality. Then the third session, this is where he talks about right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. So in this eightfold, the third session, he's again giving you all the tips. He's saying, when you do this, the meditation, which is mindfulness, concentration, effort, you will be able to reach, you can, erase the life of suffering, the first noble truth. So he's giving you the whole map, the road map. So it really makes me sad when I see, the mental health of our youth slipping by. They seem to be more stressed. And if they only knew this, they can gear themselves through meditation. And now they are having mindfulness in hospitals and for mental health issues. So this is something, a topic that I wanted to touch base on. So now we will go back to the guided meditation session. So yesterday, the mind's attention and focus was on object, and this morning the mind's attention was on our breath. And what I want to do is I really want to bring a state of, I want to give you some techniques and tools that you'll have instantaneously. Supposing you're at some place and you're very angry and you just want to burst out. You can't just go and sit and say, let me breathe. You can do that. But it's like kind of, you want to probably do it very discreetly. And so this is the technique that will help you. And this is something you can do as you're walking. If you concentrate a lot on breath, you may, trip people, or you may trip yourself as you're walking to work, or you're not recommended while you drive to meditate. But this is the technique I want to give. And the technique is, like I mentioned, when you start your meditation practice, there are two essential points. One is your body posture, and the second is the mind. So the mind, we always give the mind an anchor or a attention or a focus point. So yesterday the focus point was on object, and in the morning the focus was on the breath, and today in the afternoon the focus is going to be on a mantra. Now, how many of you know what a mantra is? Very good. Very good. Have you heard that there are mantras? Yes. So what is a mantra? In very simplistic terms, a mantra is a concentrated word. When we want to evoke, when we want Mother Tara to give us her help, we recite her phrase, which is Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. Chenrezi is Om Mani Peme Hong. We invoke by the mantra. And it's like, how you have a lock and you open with a key, you open it. Mantra is something similar, it's a very concentrated word. That's a poor example, but something that all of us can understand. So today, the mantra is going to be Om A Hong, and I'll spell it. Om is O-M, and A is A-H, and then the third letter Hung is H-U-N-G. Hung. Om A Hung. And if any of y'all have thoughts that, oh my God, I'm going to go home, I'm going to forget it, this is a strange word for me, not to worry. You can always do it with devotion, and it's simple enough to remember, right? Om Ah Hung. Everybody? Is it simple? Anyone finds it a little hard? No. Okay. So I want to tell you all a very nice story. So there was a very big monastery, and there were very highly realized teachers in the monastery. And one of the monks, very, very high monk, heard that across the river there was a yogi. And he was a very, very good practitioner, and he was been practicing for a very long time. So this teacher from the monastery was very curious what the yogi is practicing, and he wanted to go and visit him. And the yogi there doesn't have any formal practice, he's just practicing with devotion and what he has learned. He's like not in one of these very exclusive, very well studied monasteries. He's just living in his own hut and doing his practice. But a lot of people would go to him, the villagers, to get his blessings. So this head monk wants to go and visit and see if he's really special, or what is the story here. So one day he gets his attendant, gets a boat and swims across, in the boat, they go across the river to meet this yogi. So the yogi is meditating and the master goes inside his hut and he sits there and he's listening, he sits in front of the yogi, and the yogi was, doing the mantra for Chenrezi, which is Om Mani Padme Hum, but I think he was doing it a little differently, like Om Padme Hum. The words were like mispronounced. And so then this master teacher had such compassion. He was crying. He said, this yogi has spent 20 years reciting the wrong mantra. Oh my God, oh my Buddha, how sad. And then he really cried with so much compassion for this yogi. And then he, told the yogi, I'm so sorry, but you are reciting the wrong mantra. It is Om Mani Padme Hum. It's not the wrong mantra that you're reciting. And the yogi was very startled and he said, I'm so sorry, master, I'm so sorry. I will recite. Please repeat that mantra again. So the master said, Om Mani Padme Hum. So the yogi now, from after 20 years of practice, he has to now, what a waste of time. And he felt, and so then the teacher was very happy that, still this man has 20 more years to live or 10 more years to live. He can still practice and he can reach enlightenment. I've done a good deed today, the head teacher thought. And he blessed the hut, all the villagers were there, he blessed all of them. And he told the attendants, now let's go back to the monastery, I've done my work. And he was feeling very, very happy that day that he did such a good job. He came at the right time. And as he was going back in the middle of the lake, he could see this yogi, coming, and then in the lake. It was in the middle of the lake, and the master said, "Wait, stop!" to the attendant, and then the yogi said, "Master, I have forgotten the mantra. Could you please reply again?" And he said, "Oh, it's Om Mani Padme Hum." And he said, "Thank you, master." And as he was going away, the head teacher looked. And the yogi was walking on water. So, what is the point of the story? The point of the story is the mantra was recited with such devotion, with faith, that he had become enlightened. So, it was the teacher, this head teacher was the one who was a fool. The other yogi was walking on water. So when you all go home and when you have some confusion, am I doing the right way? Am I doing the meditation right way? You are, because slowly you will understand it's the awareness that's more important, and your body already has that wisdom. So coming back to the mantra, how do we recite this mantra? It is Om Ah Hung. Now something interesting you may have noticed. You'll discover a lot of things within yourself. One of the things you'll discover when you do the meditation on your breath, the meditation on your breath is when you breathe in. I'm sure some of you may realize this, some of you are discovering. When you breathe in, there's a small gap. And then when you breathe in, there's a small gap. And then you exhale. And when you exhale, there's a small gap before you breathe in. So for all of us, the gap is sometimes smaller, sometimes it's larger. So when I breathe in, and then there's a small gap before you exhale. And after you exhale, there's another small gap before you inhale. So this is the rhythm of our breath. So how do we incorporate the Om Ah Hung? So this is how we do it. When we inhale, we'll do Om mentally, okay? And then there's a gap. When you have that gap, it's not very prominent, but there is a gap. And then you do Ah. And then as you exhale, you do Hung. So it is done mentally, and it's all done rhythmically, okay? Om Ah Hung. Repeat. Om Ahung. And it's according to your own rhythm, own breath. That's how we'll do the Om Ahung. Why am I introducing this Om Ahung to you? Why? Because when something is agitated, you're very nervous, you're angry, immediately you can take one of these malas or even your hand bracelet with the beads, and you can just do Om. All your concentration to something what you're saying. Om Ahung. And then let that pass, because it's not permanent. Your anger, anxiety, stress, it's not permanent. Let it pass, okay? Now, before we do this, we'll continue. So, how does it feel? Om Ahung. Any questions on this? Any thoughts? Anything you want to share? Oh, you're all good with it? So we can start? Wonderful. So like I said, when we start our meditation practice, I'm going to keep repeating because repetition makes all of you all perfect. So there are two essential points. First essential point is a body, and the body has 7 postures. So we will go through all the 7 postures, and it's nice when you're also go home and you sit to just go through these 7 postures. So it's perfectly all right to sit on the chair, and then if you're sitting on the chair, keep your back straight, and if it's best not to lean on the seat, because as you get progressive with your meditation, it's wonderful to experience your mind without the body. There's a seat kind of avoids you from experiencing that. But if you want to be comfortable for this meditation session, absolutely perfect, okay? And all of y'all who are sitting on the floor, do know anytime you can move up to the chair. If you want to cough, if you want to move, if you want to shift, it's perfectly all right. And then when we start the meditation, it's always nice to start with 3 long and deep breaths. And so I'll give you all the 7 postures, adding a couple of few, and one is what I said, to shift from side to side. Almost you're lifting your knees up and down a little bit. Not your body, but you're lifting your knee up and down. It's to close the bottom part, okay? And so that we'll do that. This is from Kalu Rinpoche. These are the little tips that the yogi masters will give when you meet them personally, because you want everything to be, running smoothly. So the second thing is you keep your back straight as comfortably you can. And then your shoulders are square, they're not slumped down. Your neck is slightly bent, your chin is slightly tucked in. And this you can avoid. This is a good posture to avoid the saliva. The lips should be resting naturally. The tongue should be touching the upper palate, and your eyes should be slightly opened. So bring your hands again to the tip of the nose and put your gaze in front of you. The further you put, that's further, as comfortable as you put, that's wonderful. And so your eyes can be open a little bit. They're half closed. And then we incorporate this Om Ahung. So I'll hit the gong and we will meditate for a few minutes, and we'll start, okay? Let's put our mind's attention on our breath. The first we'll do the 3 breaths as we start. So after the 3 breaths, breathe normally, breathe in your own rhythm. So to start, let's put our mind's attention on a breath, feeling each breath as it comes in and goes out, letting the breath be just as it is without trying to change or regulate it in any way, allowing it to flow easily and naturally with its own rhythm and pace, breathing comfortably. And now you can combine the mantra Om as you breathe in, Ah when there's a little gap, and Hung as you breathe out. And you recite it mentally. Om, Ah, Hung. And as you breathe out, after you recite Hung, just let the breath automatically pervade the whole space in front of you and rest in that present moment of awareness. Om, Ah, Hung. Om, Ah, Hung. As you breathe out, let the breath pervade the entire space in front of you and rest in that present moment of awareness. If any thoughts encounters your mind, just let it go. Say thinking, acknowledge it, let it go, and come back to your reciting the mantra mentally. Om, Ah, Hung. Om, Ah, Hung. And as you breathe out, let your breath fill the entire space in front of you. And again, rest in that present moment of awareness. Om Ahung. The 3 cycles should be natural and not forced. Breathe normally in your own rhythm and gently. Om Ahung. Om when you inhale, and in that small gap it's Ah, and then Hung as you exhale. Om Ahung. Okay, relax now. Just stretch a little bit. How many of you all were dozing off? Wonderful way to sit down. So now you all can sit and sleep as well. Sit and doze. So this meditation technique, Om Ahung, is very useful. You know, you can have a beads like this in the Buddhist tradition. We carry the mala on our left hand, and when we touch the bead, you know, we touch it inward like this. So this is how it's done. So here, one will be Om Ahung, Om Ahung. Because again, when you're doing your chores, you have 2 choices, to look externally or to look inward. So you can just, you know, you can always keep this mala here in your heart. Om Ahung. You know, the days you feel more agitated, your mind can't rest quickly. You know, the object is too distracting. You're putting your attention on your breath is too distracting. And the best way is to hear you mentally, Om Ahung. And this also helps as you get good at this recitation. You know, say you're with somebody, your loved ones. What is the next big festival? Thanksgiving, is it? Yes. So is that when a lot of things come out in the family? And that's when you can, you know, when you're with your family or your friend who aggravates you a lot, but you want to maintain your peace. And so you just go inward, you know. The person can be ranting and doing all kind of mischief, but you just go inward and you just do this. Om Ahung. And the other person will be, are you listening? Are you listening? Yes. Om Ahung. Om. You know, mentally. This is a great way. You know, you could be anywhere and you can use this. And this is a very quick way to calm yourself. It's almost like magic, you know, which is Om Ahung. Om Ahung. How many people find this easy? Any thoughts, any ideas you want to share?
I'm struggling with the space between the inward and outward breath.
Yes.
And I kind of run the Om together and
Yes.
the Hung.
Yes.
How do I make that separation a little better?
With the Ah?
Yeah, with the Ah.
Okay. So the good news is that you can use this Om Ahung according to your own rhythm. The only requirement here is to say it mentally. So if you say it fast, it's okay. If you say it slowly, if if it is quickly, it's okay. It's no problem. It's like this. Om Hung, because the gap is very tiny. I'm just making it a little more exaggerated because, just to hit home the point. But what the gap is very small, and it's okay. When you do this for a couple more times, you'll find that space. Om Hung. So if it is very short, it's okay to do it quickly. Om Ahong, Om Ahong. You can do, use Om as a little bit lengthier, Ah is shorter, Hong. So there's no time, there's no correct time or something. It's according to your own body rhythm. And this, I assure you, is a very, very good tool and technique to have, because as you're practicing not to become a very angry person, if you have anger issues, if you want to control that, and somebody will always be there to trigger you, and you can use this, mentally. You can do that, and this is an amazing practice. I find this very, very useful. Even when I'm in the monastery, we have to constantly practice. The whole 3.5-year retreat is just a foundation for us to come out and practice. And we have a lot of people who we need to practice with, So, Om Ahong, there's a lot of people who will want to shake that peace of mind, or irritate you whenever opportunity arises. So, Om Ahong is very wonderful. So, what we'll do, now I know all of us are feeling a little sleepy, so I want to kind of give you another technique, which is a walking meditation. So, what we'll do is I will step here, and we will go clockwise, and this is you can line up behind each one. You can just come to the front and line up, and what we'll do, we're just going round the room like this. And for anyone who their feet feels tired or anything, it's okay for you to sit. But this is a nice way to rejuvenate. Because why? Because we'll fall asleep, and falling asleep is what we are doing when we are awake as well. So let's have a little walk and shake things up, okay? So this Om Ahung, the letters are very simple, very easy to sound, but it incorporates the whole of the teachings. Why? Because it embodies the Buddha's mind, body, and speech. So Om is the mind, Ah is the speech, and Hung is the body, mind, speech, and body. So it incorporates the whole thing, and there's a lot of blessings, and the mantra is very, very powerful. Om Ahung, okay? It incorporates the Buddha's mind, speech, and body in this very simple Om Ahung. So since you all did so well, we're going to have a nice break, short break, 10 minutes, Lama Mat? Yes, and we'll come back here, okay? Thank you. Hello again. Hello, everyone. Was that break a little refreshing? Wonderful. So I want to share another story with you all. So the past week was one of the amazing experience for me. Our monastery is Kaju Tupten Choling, and we are in Wapanja Falls. And there's another monastery in New York, which is 1 hour, 20 minutes away from our monastery. And the area is called Woodstock Monastery, and it's called KTD. We are KTC. So the monastery there in Woodstock is the abbot there was this teacher, Kempo Katar, and he and our teacher, they were like brothers, and they both came at the same time, and they both came with nothing but without any knowledge of the language or any kind of business, but they had great realization in the Buddhist teachings, in the Tibetan Buddhist teachings. And both were able to accomplish unbelievable monasteries and for us, so we could go and study and learn. And Khenpo Kathar, we used to always visit that monastery, and that is the seat of His Holiness, the Karmapa. And His Holiness's picture is somewhere. It's on the top, I think. And so that Woodstock Monastery, KTC Monastery, is Karmapa's seat. Whenever Karmapa comes to America, that's his seat, where that's his monastery. So the abbot there was 96, and then we celebrated his birthday a few months ago. And when I went to see him, he was full of life. He's 96 years old. So much compassion and so much love, and he also had invited another master from another monastery to read the transmission, which they are thick pechas, prayers, which I think was took about 2-3 months. For him, every day he would chant for 2 hours. It's like a transmission. You sit with a very open mind, and these are transmission from Tibetan, that was some of the highest teaching. So this was a particular text. He had specially come to recite that. This was another master. So Khenpo Kathar, suddenly after we visited his birthday, this was October 3rd, we heard that he had passed away. And it was, we kind of knew, but it's still so devastating. These are one of the big kahunas, the big masters. And the master lived in a retreat place, which was 2.5 hours ago, and all the monks and nuns from all over had gathered there for prayers. And for the first time, they were going to have like an open cremation, very traditional to Tibetan culture. And so it was not going to happen in the Woodstock Monastery because I don't think they had the permit. So it was going to happen in the 3.5-year retreat, which was founded by the master, which was 2.5 hours ago. The place is called Delhi, Delhi. Ironically, it's called Delhi, but put together. So all of us went there, and the previous day, and to settle and everything. And monks and nuns had flown from all over the world, from Rome, from Canada, from everywhere. So they had made like a stupa, temporary stupa, which is like a temple. And there were 4 areas: north, south, east, west, and all the 4 sections. There was a group of monks, like 20, all reciting different text, and also making the highest offering, which is called jinsek. We make offerings of every kind, fruit, vegetables, the highest thing. It's called jinsek. These are prayers, and even in the retreat, we are trained to do this. After a practice, which lasts maybe 1 month, some practice are 6 months. After the practice, we offer this jinsek, like a very big offering, and it is very involved. And so more details you can find out later of what jinsek means. And so on the 4 corners, which is north and south, we were all seated. So the prayers started at 6 a.m. There were temporary prayers. And 10 a.m. we went to the location where his body was going to be brought. And it was the cremation ceremony. And this was my very first time. So from October 3rd to the day of the cremation, which was 20th, 20, it's about like 2 weeks. I'm not sure whether it was the 3rd or 6th he passed away. But for 2 weeks, the body was kept. It's called kudung, where, how we sit for the meditation posture. That's how it was seated, and the whole body was covered with auspicious brocade, and it was in the shrine room like this. Anyone could go and pray, but it was left in a it was made, there were incense, flowers, water bowls all surrounding that, and in the center the body was placed. And it was amazing. The body was there for 2 weeks, and there was no any smell or anything like that. So people from all over, he had a huge following. They were coming and praying, reciting prayers. So on October 20th, while we were all seated there, our prayer started at 10 a.m. The procession came, and this is all on YouTube. And the realized master's name is Kempo Katar Rinpoche. And so the whole ceremony, they brought the body and they placed the body in the stupa, and then we were all seated as we were reciting prayers. They lit the fire as a pyre. And, so while we were praying at 10 a.m., slowly around an hour or two proceeding to the prayers, it started raining. So all of us who were sitting there, we had absolutely no cover or anything, because it was very man-made, for that occasion. First it started off as little drizzle, there was holy water sprinkled on us. And then it became colder and colder. And what was such a amazing thing to watch is all the monks who were present. There was nothing that moved them. Nobody was running for cover. Oh my God, it's raining, I'm wet, I'm cold. There was no complaints. We were all chanting in rhythm. And of course, there were so many people who were his students and disciples. They were all trying to cover us with umbrellas, but half of us were not covered because first it was just drizzling. And that is when you could really see the practice coming into fruition, what the practice does, how resilient you become to everything, the outside elements, and how you can carry yourself with your own, when you practice with your mind. And that is something will always stay. It was such an inspiration, and I aspire to be like that. They were so resilient. Even I was sitting there and chanting. None of us moved, or we are supposed to honor our robes, and we can't wear caps and so on, and our hands and all were bare. And of course they keep a little blind eye to the Westerners where we can keep a jacket or something like that, but most of us didn't wear, because it's very important that we wear our robes in the correct way. And so from 10 to 4 o'clock, 3 to 4, we were sitting and chanting while it was raining on us. The rain started later. But there was also a blessing, it was started off, as little dribbles, and then, it poured a little bit, and we got some covering. And finally the prayers was finished. And when we went into the gates of Karmaling, when we were all going to stay there, there was a beautiful rainbow that greeted us. And it was not one of those rainbows like that. It was like a straight rainbow like this. And all over there were rainbows. Even in our monastery there was rainbows, and the rainbow was so extraordinary, very different in shape, and where the water also had the reflection of the rainbow. And rainbows are very symbolic in the Tibetan tradition. When realized masters pass away, that's very symbolic, that he has reached enlightenment. That is a symbol. So we did our prayers, and it was so much harmony. Everybody, it was peaceful and so harmonious and so beautiful to watch, to stay in that energy field of harmony. And I felt I wanted to share this with you all, because you all can always see that on the YouTube, because it's a very, very rare opportunity to see something like that. And they really did a close-up when the fire was burning in it. It was an open cremation. And I think it's all the meditation practice that in the end that keeps that resilient and that nobility, that we all have within us. And this will come out when we practice more and more. So the name again was Kempo Katar, and he was in KTD monastery, and this is his picture. So I just want to also tell you what are the benefits of this meditation. When we train ourselves in this formal sitting process, through this meditation, and then you can also observe your thoughts coming up. As soon as you sit for meditation, you'll slowly see your mind wandering off. And that's the nature of your mind. It'll wander off to some subject, and then you'll catch it. Oh, my mind has wandered off. When that happens, you observe it, you acknowledge it, and then bring your mind's attention back to your breath or the object or your mantra. It's never to stop your thoughts. You can never stop your thoughts. It's like stopping a waterfall, right? You can never do that. So that's the example. Don't even try to do that because it's crazy. And so when you're sitting, when you're doing this formal type of meditation, when your thoughts come, you observe it and you let it go. And it's very easy to let go. What happens? We want to engage in our thoughts. That's what is our problem. So when we let go in the formal practice, so in your ordinary day-to-day life, that's what you can do. This is a sitting where you practice in your ordinary lives. When you're stressed about something, you watch your mind and say, this is not so important. I can let it go. I can let it go. And that is a practice. And that's another method where you learn how to, with this meditation practice, to dissolve that thoughts. Some of your thoughts are, not harmful, but some of them are so harmful. Like there's a lot of anger rising, there's a lot of stress or anxiety, and then you watch your mind. What am I stressed about? What am I thinking? It's not important. I can let go. So when you're sitting, you practice and then use this in your ordinary day-to-day life. And that is the importance of the practice. And it's also, the thoughts that come. In the Tibetan tradition, what the example they give is your mind being like an ocean. It's like huge. It's so spacious, and the waves are your thoughts. They arise and they go back. They arise and they go back. Right? They don't leave any imprints on a calm sea. That's what your thoughts are. So these thoughts don't have such power. It's just that you give it so much power. So that's the nature of your mind. Your mind is as spacious as space, and your thoughts are like clouds your mind is as spacious as the ocean, and the waves are your thoughts. They come and fall and dissolve. So any thoughts, any questions? We have a few minutes for a meditation practice. Anything you want, a little more thoughts I could share? Was the class easy to understand? And all of you all are going to be doing the meditation practice at home? And please even sit for a minute, find your own space, and let that be your space for you to come and sit down and do your meditation. And like now, the object meditation, how to put your meditation on, your mind's focus on your breath. And this Om Ahung is even more deadly. You can do that continuously. Om Ahung, Om Ahung. But then be careful when you do your Om Ahung. Let that attention be on that Om Ahung, okay? Not external, not outward, but going in. So we'll do this Om Ahung a couple more times, a few more minutes. And if you have any questions after, we'll do this for 10 minutes, and then we can conclude. And if you have any thoughts or any questions, anything you want to ask, you can ask after this 10 minutes practice, okay? I'll ring the gong. Please check your posture. Your back should be straight. Your hands in the meditation posture, your neck slightly tilted. Inhale and exhale. Breathe normally. And as you exhale, let your breath fill the entire space in front of you. And as you inhale, mentally say Om, the gap A, and Hung. Om Ahung. In your own rhythm. And put your mind's attention on Om Ahung. The minute you catch yourself, when the mind wanders off, don't engage in your thought, drop it and say thinking and bring your attention back to Om Ahung. When a thought or an emotion or a sensation arise, as soon as you recognize it, just say simply, that's a thought, that's an emotion, a sensation. Do not follow the content or engage in it. Just drop it and let go and come to your mantra Om Ahung. And as you exhale, let the breath fill the entire space in front of you and just rest in that present moment of awareness. Okay, relax. Stretch a little bit. Any thoughts or any questions? Anything to share? You all did very, very well. I want to, we have a few minutes and I want to give you another small meditation technique which I feel is very, very useful. And this is a short version of the Ling practice. How many of you all have heard Ling? Wow, that's fantastic, amazing. So Ling is a practice, and if translated into English, it's a practice called taking and sending, and this is a highly profound practice. So most of you all know what Ling is. It's a small abbreviated version I'm going to give, and so we'll conclude this meditation like this, and all we have to do is you can pick any of the points I taught you. You can look at an object, you can look at you can follow your breath, and either of that too, and then just sit upright, put your attention on the object or your breath, and just visualize all the blessings of the Buddhas, all the tankas you see here, they are real. Almost all the lot of realized masters have seen one or two of the deities, and that's why they could do these beautiful paintings. So just visualize, since you're here, all of the Buddha's blessings, and engulf you with unconditional love, and then from your heart center, that same white light goes back into the universe, sending unconditional love to all the sentient beings. So we'll just do that for like 3 minutes, and we will conclude with prayers, okay? And this practice is very useful if you are having any problems with your loved one, someone who you want to resolve things. You can go sit in your meditation posture. You can visualize that person in front of you, and whenever you visualize people, you try to visualize them as though they're hollow bodies, like as though the rainbows, they're not solid, not made of stone or something like that, okay? So they're always like hollow. So if you have any problems or you want to resolve it, your best friend or your mother, father, anyone, you can place your boss, whoever you want, you can place them right in front of you, and they're hollow bodies, and send them this unconditional love. And first and foremost, it's filling yourself with unconditional love. So you can just visualize the whole of the Buddha sending you white light of unconditional love. And we'll do this for a thing. I'll guide you through that. Sit upright and visualize all the Buddhas above the sky sending you white light of unconditional love. It comes through your head into your body, fills the whole body with unconditional love. And from the heart center, the light comes out and goes to all the sentient beings in front of you, to the whole space, sending unconditional love. And just rest in that present moment of awareness. And you can keep doing that a couple of times, the light coming to you, and then from your heart center, the light going to the whole universe, just spreading a beautiful, calm presence of unconditional love. And then just sit in that present moment of awareness. Wonderful. Relax. Did you all feel that? This is something you can do daily, and what you put out is what you attract. So this is a wonderful meditation technique as well. And Lama Matthew will conclude with the dedication.